From the capital city of Charleston, West Virginia, this is Inside West Virginia Politics with Rick Johnson. Inside West Virginia Politics is brought to you by AARP West Virginia, your ally for real possibilities in the Mountain State. Now, Inside West Virginia Politics.
Hello and welcome to Inside West Virginia Politics. I'm Rick Johnson. Our first guest is Patrick Farrell. He's the mayor of the city of Huntington. And it is so good to have you with us on the program today.
It's great to be here.
You're sort of new to the job.
I am.
7 months in or so. And we're very happy to have you with us and talk about some important issues.
Thanks for having me.
How's it been the first 7 months? Let's get that out of the way.
Well, it's been great. It's an honor to be able to serve the city where I was born and raised and come back to raise a family. So it's really been gratifying.
Is that what pulled you to run for mayor of your home city?
Yeah, look, I'm a husband and a father, right? I'm a veteran and a business owner, and I thought that my path was going to be just in those lanes. But I was called to public service because I saw some needs at the city. I thought that there were some public safety issues that we needed to address, some infrastructure things that we could tackle, and I wanted to be able to help grow the economy, and this was the best way I thought I could do it.
Fantastic. Let's talk about homelessness. It is an issue, seems like, for every community, every city in America, whether they're small, medium, or large. And at times when you talk about it, it's just like, oh, what do we do?
Right.
What do we do? Well, you've been putting some things together and kind of moving in a direction. And one of the first things out of the box was something called Mission Zero, and having to do with homeless veterans.
Right.
Give us your take on that.
Yeah, my first day in office during the inauguration, a speech I gave talked about the Veteran Homeless Pilot Project. What we wanted to do was act now, learn fast, and then be able to take the lessons that we learned from this pilot project to apply it to a broader population. And so Mission Zero is all about finding the veterans, getting them by name, so that we're talking about individuals, not about numbers, understanding what their circumstances are, and connecting them with services. Right? And that was through the VA, obviously, has a lot to offer, but also our medical community, our nonprofit community, and aligning all of those resources to try to get these people off the street so we can get to what I call, functional zero homelessness, meaning that the number of people experiencing homelessness at any given time is less than our proven ability to house them within a 30-day period.
Is there any way to know how many homeless veterans there are on the streets in Huntington?
There's no solid way to know. Each year, a continuum of care, or the region of Huntington and the surrounding counties, does a point-in-time count. And so on that count, it's an imperfect measure. We know that we're undercounting it. We know there were about 24 folks right now in that count, but it could change at any given time.
And you mentioned helping veterans. What are some of the things you're able to provide for veterans who are on the streets?
Well, the first thing is that we want to make contact. And if they need medical care, we want to get them into medical care. If they're eligible for VA services, we connect them there. If they're not, we try to connect them to other medical resources that they need. They may need mental health counseling. They may need addiction counseling. Or ultimately, we want to try to get them into either emergency shelter or permanent shelter, permanent housing.
Yeah. So is Mission Zero sort of like a stepping stone into a broader approach to the bigger issue of homelessness among all peoples, if you will, all walks of life could be involved in the snare of being homeless on the streets?
Absolutely. So we start with data and partnerships. And if we have those, we can then expand. And by starting with this smaller subset, we're going to learn some lessons. As I said, we're going to act now and learn fast because we know that there are things that aren't working right. And so if we can work out those kinks now and figure out how to get good alignment between all of the partners, we think we can then expand the services to not just veterans, but anyone that's experiencing homelessness. And
there are, and there always have been, agencies and groups helping the folks who are homeless, but maybe not working together as they could.
I think as humans, we tend to get in these silos. We try to stay in our lanes, and that doesn't always work. And so the challenge here is a leadership challenge of how do you get our hospital system or other healthcare providers aligned with our nonprofits that may have a different mission, or with our faith-based community that may have a different mission. And how do you help them all see the same challenge and then have a common vision for how to share resources to achieve a goal? And that's what we're working on now.
Is there something that's even a little more sad, if you will, when you see someone who is down on their luck and they don't have a place to live, they don't have a home to go to, and I often wonder, where are they going when they're walking up and down the streets? But also to find out that person served our country.
Yeah, I mean, look, these people deserve all that we have to give them. They served, and now if we can give them something back, that's great. But each person's story is different. And what we know is that the people living on the streets, they really are individuals. And so we can't paint them with a broad brush. And so some folks need housing, right? But some folks don't need housing. They don't want to be contacted. They want something else. So our goal is to get in touch with them, to understand their needs, and be able to try to meet them where they are.
All right, tell you what, we're going to keep you for another segment.
Okay.
All right. We have with us Patrick Farrell. He's the mayor of Huntington. And when we get back, we're going to talk about his plan for making Huntington, I love this line, a place where everyone has a home.
Yeah.
We're back with Huntington Mayor Patrick Farrell, and we're talking about the situation of homelessness in Huntington, West Virginia. It could also be in Charleston, West Virginia, Parkersburg, Clarksburg, Wheeling, and I'm sure that it is in all these places, Martinsburg, all across the state of West Virginia. And wanted to find out, I know that President Trump signed an executive order, and I think it was maybe back in March, about the issue of homelessness and making our streets safer, not only for those who aren't homeless, but for the homeless as well, and providing certain services. And I'm wondering if that parallels with your thoughts on the issue and some of the things you're trying to make happen in Huntington.
Yeah, it does. Let me try to answer that question with a story. My office is downtown. I've got a big window that looks at the streets, and often as I'm walking around downtown, I'll talk to people that are living on the streets. And it's clear to me that there's not a one-size-fits-all issue here. Some people just need a leg up and need to get into housing, and we should certainly help them. Some folks are in the throes of addiction, and they need obviously different care. But some of a very small population is in severe mental illness crisis. Right? And what we know is that there's not an easy answer for those folks. We can give them housing, but they may not be able to stay there. I'll tell you a story. On the way over here, I was talking to one of our partners, a doctor that's on the front lines of this. And she was telling me about a new drug on the streets called Fly Sky, or the pink stuff, not to be confused with pink cocaine, which is another substance.
Oh, wow.
And what happens is that when people are using drugs, right, when they have to get Narcan back from an overdose, there's a hypoxia that happens in their brain where their brain's deprived of oxygen. And there's only so many times I think that can happen before there's real long-term brain damage. And then what we don't know are the psychological effects of that long-term. And so for this small population that really is severely mentally ill, we need to find solutions for them. Because right now it's not working. You know, a hospital can help stabilize them for a short term. But if you send them out of the hospital after 72 hours with a prescription in their pocket, they're likely to come back, right? What we're doing is we're cycling people from our sidewalks to our jails to our ERs and back again. And it's the least effective, most costly way for our taxpayers to deal with it. So I think there are ways that we can deal with it. You know, we can define this problem on the front lines because we see it. But you mentioned the executive order, which talks about involuntary commitment. Because we have beds set aside for voluntary commitment, and that's great. But some of these folks don't know what's best for them, right? And they are so severely ill that we need to have a better mechanism. We know we have the funding. The big, beautiful bill sets aside money for rural hospitals. You know, $1 billion might come to West Virginia. We know that through Medicaid, that if we change some of the rules, our hospitals would be allowed to get compensated for long-term psychiatric care. So there are options out there for us to do. We just need the right policies in place so that we can care for these people that are not going to get off the streets. What's going to happen is that if they continue to be on the streets, they get Narcan back to life, and we let them spiral into this mental health or addiction crisis, they're a danger to themselves. And that's not compassion. That's really a neglect of what we should be doing for the least among us.
So in that combat, if you will, who are the players on the side of helping these people?
Well, it's everybody. I mean, right now it's our law enforcement, our firefighters, see them all the time on the streets. We know that our hospitals and our ERs are treating folks, and then the nonprofits that have street outreach are dealing with them. So there's a lot of different touch points, and this is why leadership matters. What I'm hoping is that we can align the federal resources that are out there, our state resources that are out there, and what we're doing locally to really have a plan to get people, for some of them, into housing, right? That we just need to get, all they need is a roof over their head and they can get back onto a path. But some of them need a different kind of bed, not something that's permanent shelter, but they may need that long-term psychiatric care. Some of them may need to go to jail because they have just gotten to the point that the criminal justice system needs to help rehabilitate them. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's a complicated topic. It always comes down to trying to do what's best for the person that's living on the street, but then also what's best for the rest of the community. You know, the rest of the people that live here, work here, and want to grow up in a great place.
And of course, in every situation, there are bad actors as well.
That's right.
And those are the ones that you have to get somewhere where they're not hurting people.
That's right.
In your community. So that's another part of the problem.
It absolutely is. You know, right now this is a broader public safety initiative for us. We know that our law enforcement folks and our firefighters spend a tremendous amount of time dealing with drugs and homelessness. And we're hoping that if we can get people off the streets, that the time and effort they spend dealing with overdoses, with trespassing, with loitering or camping, those types of issues, if we can alleviate that, then our firefighters and our policemen can get back to doing a job that helps more severe criminal behavior.
Well, I wish we had more time, but unfortunately we don't. Can we have you back?
Absolutely.
All right, Mayor, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, that is Mayor Patrick Farrell, and we're going to take a break and be right back with more of Inside West Virginia Politics. Welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics. Our next guest is Mike Pushkin. He's a delegate from Kanawha County and chairman of the West Virginia Democratic Party, and we welcome you back to Inside West Virginia Politics.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me back on. Good.
I haven't seen you for a while.
Oh, well, I'll come on more often.
We'll invite you more often, so there we go. I wanted to just start off with the Bernie Sanders visit and tour, if you will,
Yes.
of the state of West Virginia recently. What was your overall take on that?
Well, they were very well attended, I'll say that. Senator Sanders, an independent senator from Vermont, spent his weekend in West Virginia. And he had a sold-out crowd at the Capitol Theater in Wheeling. There were around 3,000, looked like about 3,000 people there, if you count all the people on the stage and everything. He had a town hall in Lenoir, West Virginia, down in Mingo County. We had around 500 people down there in a small gymnasium in Lenoir, where he held a town hall meeting, took questions and answers. And then here in Charleston, over at the Civic Center, he had a packed room. It looked like around 3,000 to 4,000 people over there. So I'd say that Senator Sanders draws a crowd in West Virginia, I think, for a lot of the same reason that people were first drawn to now President Trump. It's people who feel like they've been left out and left behind, ignored. They've been hurt by a broken system. So the difference is it's people like Donald Trump who broke the system. But I think Senator Sanders' message still resonates with a lot of West Virginia voters. But more important than that, he showed up. He held a town hall. He listened to West Virginia voters. And you don't see Senator Justice doing that. You don't see Senator Capito doing that. You don't see our representatives, Miller or Moore, doing that. So I'll give them credit for showing up in West Virginia and listening to voters. I wish our congressional delegation would do the same.
Do you sense any sort of positive impact on the Democratic Party with his visit?
I think it's energizing folks who are upset with our current state of affairs, as they should be. West Virginians are going to be disproportionately hurt by this one big beautiful bill that the Republicans in Congress, all 4 members of our congressional delegation, supported and promoted. And it was pushed by the president. Well, it's not going to be good for many West Virginians who have rely on Medicaid, Medicare, more so than most other states. It's going to put 7 rural hospitals in West Virginia out of business. That's further that people have to travel if, God forbid, they have a medical emergency. It's taking food assistance away from needy families. We have far too many of those in West Virginia. So yeah, I think that the Republican agenda is not going to be good for the people of West Virginia, not to mention all the federal layoffs. We have a lot of federal workers in this state. It hasn't been good for this state, and I think that's why his message has resonated with folks of West Virginia.
Very good. Moving on to something else, something that I kind of picked up on. Looks as though President Trump signed an executive order back in March.
He signed a few executive orders. So
yes, he has.
Let's be more specific. Okay, go ahead.
And this one, though, was about voting and elections.
Okay.
And in it mentioned paper ballots. And almost saying that this is the way we should go is this point on,
Yeah,
paper ballots.
I saw that, and I saw that the West Virginia Secretary of State, Chris Warner, is looking into whether or not we need to return, in 2025, to return to paper ballots. Well, the fact of the matter is we haven't had any signs of voting irregularities, any problems with our elections here in West Virginia. The voting machines that are now touch screen, however we do it, they're not connected to the internet. Okay, there is a paper trail. There are paper ballots that back up all of these votes. So I think once again, this is posturing and more bluster from President Trump, perhaps to distract from things like the fact that he said he was going to release the Epstein files and he has refused to do so. So this is a distraction. That's all it is.
And also, before we run out of time here, I want to get your take on the Republican primary. For the first time in years will be closed coming up in the spring. Is there any opportunity for Democrats maybe in that scenario to pull some independents over to?
I think so. I think back a long time ago, the Democrats made that same mistake, and they had a closed primary while the Republicans kept theirs open. We just want independent voters to know that you're welcome to vote in our primary. We need all the vote. We're not going to shut anybody out of the process. I think it's very arrogant for the Republicans to act like they don't need independent or unaffiliated voters anymore, which is the fastest growing block of voters in the country and in this state. So yeah, our primaries are going to remain open, and we'll ask for people to request a Democratic ballot when they go into vote in May.
All right. That'll do it, Mike, for this segment. We thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
And welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics. I'm Rick Johnson, and joining me for this segment is Marilee McAuliffe, who is the host of Good Day at 4 every weekday on WOWK-TV. Hello.
Oh, this is fun, Rick. Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm good.
I wanted to get your take on the West Virginia State Fair. You were just there. And tell us about what you did when you were there.
A little bit of everything. We had such a great time at the West Virginia State Fair this year, celebrating 100 years, which is really remarkable. And I do want to say something that I feel like might be an underappreciated element of the fair. The ladies worked so hard on the grounds. The floral arrangements were absolutely incredible.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Which I feel like some folks would maybe not be all about the rides or the concerts, but that really was spectacular. It's the first thing you see when you come in is this incredible arrangement, and it was just all over the grounds. So I really enjoyed the floral arrangements everywhere. You could tell they worked very hard on it. The rides are great too. It's a huge section of the fair dedicated to the rides, of course, but there really is something for everybody. It's not just wild and crazy rides. Those are fun, of course, but they've got stuff for the little kids too. It was such a great time.
And of course, there's always food.
Yes.
Food.
Yes, I know. It's tough because there is so many options for fair food, and all of it is phenomenal, and the calories don't count, of course. We know this at the fair. And it's almost like you have to strategically plan it because you don't want to, I don't know, you only have so much room. And so you got to make sure you pick your delight accordingly and share with a friend.
And
it's great.
Take long walks and then go back and get some more.
Oh yeah, the long walks, unfortunately, you don't have a choice, but it makes you feel a little bit better. Maybe you can get a little more room in there. It's a nice layout too, and the exhibits too. Of course, all of our county fairs are great in their own right too, but something about the State Fair of West Virginia is that they have really cool exhibits. For one, they had a sea lion show, which was a fan favorite for sure.
In West Virginia?
They brought them from Texas, Lily and Kitty, and they're like big dogs. It was just such a real treat to see the sea lions up there interacting with the crowd and the trainers, and I mean it was pretty hilarious, if I'm being honest. One gave me a kiss on the cheek. It was just fun. You don't see a sea lion every day, so interacting with those was fun. Glass blowing. They had, of course, all the 4-H camps, and I know I'm leaving things out, but the exhibits alone were really really entertaining as well.
And of course, there's music of all kinds and concerts and things, and it's a family event. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, we talked to a really nice lady, Cornelia Musser. She's from Lewisburg and makes a point to go every year. She's been for years, and she brought the whole family with her. So she brought her daughter, her grandchildren, and great-grandchildren running around. And so there really is something for everybody in the family at the fair. So it's nice to see people coming back year after year.
Now, you were there you were actually working.
Right.
So you didn't get a chance maybe to ride rides and all of that, but they did look fun.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to ride the rides, but they were very safe. Everyone there was just so friendly. And fortunately, the day that we were there, Wednesday, the weather was a little overcast and the chance of rain, so it deterred a handful of folks, so we didn't have to deal with any lines at all throughout the park. But nonetheless, everything there is worth waiting for.
And you know, I have to keep reminding myself that this is the 100th annual West Virginia State Fair, just wrapping up this weekend. 100 years they've been doing this.
I really want to just stress how beautiful the venue was. It was just so beautiful. I was surprised. It surprised me, if I'm being honest. And they made a point to have even the glass blowers I was telling you about a moment ago. They made a point to celebrate the 100 years. I learned something new too, in that when someone is celebrating 100 years, the color is purple.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. And so they made a pumpkin that was purple. And it's just beautiful, the craftsmanship of that alone. And so they really celebrated 100 years all throughout. And I think they really wanted to make the fair beautiful. And I never thought that I would leave a fair thinking, oh, it was so pretty. Every corner that you looked at was pretty. And that's actually really what I thought was the most surprising, was how well they, I don't know, just everything that was greeting you with 100 years. And it was really nice.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time and you got a chance to meet all kinds of people.
I had a lot of local folks.
Very good.
It was great.
Well, thanks for stopping by and sharing the moment with us.
Thanks for having me. I'll see you in the newsroom in a moment.
All right. That's Marilee McAuliffe, and I'm Rick Johnson, and that'll do it for this edition of Inside West Virginia Politics. Have a great week. We'll see you next weekend.